And good evening, everybody. Welcome into County Conversations tonight here on TV 14, WGOH 1370 AM at 100.9 FM, WUGO 99.7, Facebook, YouTube, all kinds of ways to catch us in here tonight. And we're so glad to have a very special guest here in studio with us tonight, Dr. Jennifer Fraley, and she is the superintendent of Carter County Schools. Welcome, Dr. Fraley.
Thank you, Mike.
And we've been really wanting to have you here at the station for some time. You've been a busy little superintendent,
Yeah,
working very hard,
it has been busy for sure.
and we're so glad to finally get a chance to have you here tonight with us. And welcome to the show. This is Dr. Fraley's first time here at the radio station, and we're so thankful she got a chance to come here. And what we do here on County Conversations is just a opportunity for us to talk to the public out there and tell them what's going on in the county. And of course, tonight we're going to be talking about Carter County Schools.
Yeah.
So very cool stuff happening there. And I guess we need to start off, first of all, by really getting a good introduction, knowing more about you. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Dr. Fraley.
All right. So I am getting ready to start my 36th year in education. So I've been at this a while. I have my undergraduate degree from the University of Louisville and my graduate degree from Morehead State University. And then my doctorate is from the University of the Cumberlands. I have done a little bit of everything, but when I graduated from the University of Louisville, I knew that I wanted to live and teach in Eastern Kentucky. And so I moved without knowing anyone to the eastern part of the state, and that's where I have stayed. And I absolutely love it. I love the people, I love the families, I love the communities. And so this is home now. I was the chief academic officer in Carter County, and then I went to work for the State Department of Education, where I was the director of math education. Then when our previous superintendent, Dr. Paul Green, announced his retirement, folks reached out and asked me if I would be thinking about applying to be superintendent. And I'd had my superintendent certification for a while, hadn't really thought a lot about it, but there's no better place to be than Carter County Schools. So I thought, yeah, this sounds like me. So I was very fortunate to be selected to be superintendent. Last year was my first year. So we are sitting here getting ready to start year two. And year one was a lot. There was a lot of things that went on. Everything from just craziness with the weather and adopting new high quality instructional resources, building a building, and I know we'll talk about some of those things.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot going on in Carter County, and it's a great place to be.
It is definitely, and I want to talk about some of those things with the schools and why it is such a great community as we move along tonight. Obviously, a lot of people on their minds about the new school construction, and that's probably the number one question that you get hit up probably on a daily basis. So tell us how things are going with the new school construction, and so we can kind of maybe snuff out some of those rumors maybe that's going around.
Yeah, I would love the opportunity to do that, to kind of tell you where we are. So our board has approved the first phase of construction, which is the Career and Technical Center, which will house all of our career and technical programs, and with the addition of a couple. So we will have agriculture, welding, construction, engineering, heavy equipment, health sciences. So this year we actually moved engineering from East High to our current Career and Tech Center, so because we have a lot of students from both high schools that are very interested in our engineering program.
Mm-hmm.
We have a wonderful teacher who heads that program up, Brianna Schaefer. She does a wonderful job with that, and we really wanted to give our kids on both sides of the county access to that program. So we've gone ahead and made that move, and then it will be moving to the new Career and Tech Center as well. So where we are in construction is we are actually laying block right now. So the site is totally prepared, and there is construction going on. We will have the Career Tech Center along with the greenhouses for the ag program. We will have the administrative office area. We will also have the cafeteria. and then about a third of the classrooms that will be part of the consolidated high school. So, we're just trying to pace ourselves and take a look at what we have in terms of funding. We do have hopes that the legislature will support some of these building projects in the future to help us finish everything. But our board over the next few months will be deciding what phase 2 of this building project will be. So how we're going to continue the building project. But I know a lot of the rumors have been that we're not building, but we are building. So
Yes.
there is block being laid. So we are making progress, and I'm just really excited that kids in Carter County are going to have choices. So I know that not everyone is on a college pathway, but for those that are, we are looking at our AP offerings, our advanced placement offerings. We're looking at our dual credit offerings. We're trying to really look across our community at internship and co-op experiences for our students. But then we will also have a state-of-the-art career and technical center with enough space for all of our students who want to participate. And so it's really exciting to think that we're going to be able to offer so many choices to Carter County students.
You hit on something that's really important to me there earlier. You talked about co-op and internship, and I think that's really important. I don't believe that the ones coming up understand business and the things that go into day-to-day business. Everything from greeting a customer to answering the phone correctly, because in today's time, and we're going to actually get into this in a minute with devices, but a lot of kids don't talk on the phone anymore. They're texting. So I think that's really important to get them inside of a business and understand the day by day what happens here. Why do they do certain things the way they do it? And I think it's very important. So I commend you on that. I think that's something that I think that we've kind of gotten away from, and we need to build the strengths on.
Well, we've reached out to our community in a lot of different ways to ask if there are folks that are looking for students who could come into their business and intern or co-op with them. And let's take a medical office, for instance. There's the front part of the office with the billing and the phones and the scheduling and those kinds of things, and then there's the backside with the actual care of patients. And I think a person could look at both sides of the coin and see if they have a spot for students. We are really working hard to develop systems around our co-op and internships so that we want our students to be with us for the greater part of the day.
Sure.
So they would do these in the afternoon, with the employers really helping us to teach those skills that you were mentioning. So that they would be keeping the attendance and making sure that the students were on time and they're punctual, they're where they need to be, that they're dressed appropriately, that they're doing and that they are answering the phones the way they're supposed to, or they are communicating with customers the way they're supposed to, so that we can continue to build those skills in kids so that they are successful, whatever route they go when they graduate from Carter County schools.
Yeah, I thought it was funny the other day when I was talking with my nephew, and I told him, I was talking to him about a certain business and the time that they opened during the day, and he couldn't understand the fact that the doors opened at 9 a.m. promptly, and we'll just go whenever they're open. He didn't understand that, whenever somebody wants to do business with you, they want to know what your hours are and they'll be standing there waiting for you to unlock the door.
Yeah, and they want the employees there and ready before 9 a.m.
Yep.
So absolutely.
Not showing up at 9 a.m. and then clocking in at 5 after.
Exactly.
So it's important for them to see those skills, and I think that's great. And we've used a few here at the radio station. Actually have one that's working with us now, so it's wonderful, and we're always all for that. So school consolidation obviously is a very tough term, for people to swallow sometimes, but it's necessary, I believe. And coming together with the two schools that we have here, such pride and such history, coming together to make one, I think, one super school. So talk to us a little bit. I want to go back to kind of the beginning of the consolidation. I know consolidation's been talked about for many years. Um, where really did the ball take off, and where did the decision of this is going to happen now this time come? Where did that kind of start? I know it was before your term, obviously, superintendent, but
Yeah, I think it's a conversation that has really been kind of bandied around for a while. But then our last superintendent, when he was hired, I think the board made it kind of clear that that's a direction that they wanted to go, and so he started the process. And then when I came on board, there were a lot of hard decisions to be made because building after COVID, building expenses have just gone out of sight.
very
And
true.
so, the things that they had been planning for were now, let's go back and reevaluate because building supplies are way more expensive.
That's a very good point.
When you're hiring workers, some of the funds that we were using for the project were federal funds, and so when you hire labor for work on a federal fund project, you have to pay prevailing wage, which is a higher wage, so that brings the cost up even more. So there were some really hard conversations to be had, but I think as we're looking at this, we know that consolidation is not going to just happen when that school is built and the doors are open. We have to start moving toward that. And so we need some consistency between both East and West High. We need consistency in their offerings. We need consistency in grading. We need consistency in expectations. And so our principals are already working together to make that happen.
That's good.
So that it's not just, okay, the doors are open, we're going to wave a magic wand and everybody's going to come together. And I think something that I have heard a lot, and I believe it to be true just from my interactions that I've had in both schools and with both student bodies, the kids are going to be okay when we consolidate. They already interact with each other. They like each other. They're friends. They support each other, even in athletics, which is the thing that you think would be the most contentious. But they are friends, and I think that they will be fine. And I think they're going to be more than fine because they are going to have an amazing school to go to with state-of-the-art facilities. That is another reason why we need the consolidated high school is we have some aging facilities in our district. And we need to really look at, so when we consolidate high schools, what is our district facility plan for what are we going to use the high schools for? Obviously, we're going to want to move the middle school students into those buildings. They're bigger, they have a lot more space, but then what are we going to do with our middle schools? And so it frees up some conversations to be had about budgets and about facilities and about how we are being good stewards of our money. So I think the school consolidation it's necessary. Our buildings are getting some age on them.
Yeah.
And if you have family that are students in our schools or staff in our schools, they will tell you that we are really, we have lots of issues with our HVAC systems. We have some issues with some roofs that seem to spring water features every now and then when it rains. So we have some issues that we are working on, but that's part of a bigger plan. We have to have a plan for how we're going to address our facilities. We have wonderful staff. Our maintenance and our custodial staff, they do an amazing job with the buildings, but some of these repairs are expensive. So
yeah. Well, if you're just joining us tonight, Dr. Jennifer Fraley, Superintendent of Carter County Schools, is with us tonight here on County Conversations. And I also want to talk a little bit about something here. I have done a little training working with economic development and workforce development and things of that sort. And a lot of businesses who look to come to our area, there's several things that they look at, and one of them is test scores. How are we doing as Carter County? Where are we falling on that quote unquote report card of test scores and things?
Yeah, so our schools are, first of all, I have to say, that we have amazing teachers. Our teachers work very hard. We have implemented, with last year being the first year, high quality instructional resources in reading and math K-12. And that is the first time in decades that Carter County Schools has had consistent instructional resources, textbooks, okay, for lack of a better term. They're not necessarily textbooks, but an instructional resource that all of our students are receiving instruction through consistently. So we have that in place. Our test scores, we are scoring well above the state average in everything, but I want us to be the best.
Sure.
I want us to be in the top 10 of everything that we do. So we're continuing to work at that. But it's not, we're well on a path to do that. We're putting in place lots of structures, lots of systems. This year we have a theme that is guiding our back to school work. We have instructional priorities that are really putting an emphasis on the things that we believe matter most. So I think we're putting the things in to get us to that top 10, but we're doing well.
Well, and I think when the schools consolidate, then obviously that's going to be a major focus. And especially with the vocational school, you're working with these students to get down the career paths, and that's what these businesses are looking for, are smart students that they can hire.
We have an amazing career and technical education program, again, with staff that our kids really respect and look up to and work hard for. So I'm proud of the work that they do at our Career and Tech Center. And then our ag programs are still housed at both of our high schools, but the ag program will actually move to the Career and Tech Center when that school is finished. So those career and tech ed teachers, they're pretty amazing, and they're our kids. It's a motivator for kids, for the ones that maybe don't really love school, but they will come so that they can go to the Career and Tech Ed Center. So
right, yeah. So you were talking about the different phases of the school, with the technical center being the first phase there. Other phases, how is that? How are each of those phases divided up? Are you talking about certain buildings and phases? You're talking about these sports facilities and other phases?
Yeah, so our board is just now beginning to get some of the plans from the architects to consider for what the next phase would be. And kind of like what cost estimates would be for the baseball and softball field, for the soccer field, for the track, for the football field, for a football field house, for a competition gym and an auxiliary gym, because that's what we want at the new school, so that we can have a really nice gym for our basketball team to play on, but then also an auxiliary gym so that we can have wrestling going on, we could have cheerleading going on, lots of other things going on too. Gives us another playing space.
Exactly.
For practice and that kind of thing.
Sure.
So the board is just now starting to have conversations with the architects to look at what some of those options are. Do we, go ahead and make sure that we finish the whole building first? Do we finish the athletic fields? Do we do a combination? So that's what the board is looking at right now.
Okay. All right. Very good. Well, something that you are super excited about that we definitely want to get into tonight to talk about is the Less Devices for Students program. I'm sure I'm not saying that correctly.
Well, that's the gist of it.
Yeah. Okay. So talk to us a little bit about this, because this is really something, because we've seen this generation planted on their devices, and that's great to a certain extent.
Yeah.
And you want to talk a little bit more about that. So
I do. We are all planted on those devices.
Yes, that's true.
I mean, that's
not just a generation.
I'm not going to blame those poor kids.
Yeah.
We're all doing it.
Yes.
But at the end of the year last year we had some instructional priorities, and at the end of the year last year, we worked with our staff to set instructional priorities, and we kind of have a theme for this school year, and it's back to what matters most. And so that is really about starting the school year strong. from day one. So our teachers came back today, so they're back in their buildings and their classrooms, getting them set up so that their classrooms are safe, positive places where students know that they are cared for and they're ready to learn. But that getting back to what matters most, so that really means excellent teaching and clear expectations. Our students actively engaged in learning, hands-on text, reading, writing, solving problems. So I'm really excited about that. And then underneath that theme of back to what matters most are our instructional priorities. And that very first instructional priority is about teacher-led learning beyond screens and devices. So our teachers are really working over the next week and a half as we get ready for the kids to come back to really explore what that looks like and what that means, because we're not saying that Chromebooks and devices are bad, but what we're saying is let's really think strategically about how we are using them so that our kids are not looking at a screen for an entire class period or for an entire instructional block, that they might use it for 10 minutes of research, and then they do some note taking, they do some discussion, they do some collaboration, but they are actually using the technology for a small portion of their learning, but then they're moving on and doing more things with that. So we're not saying that the Chromebooks are bad, but we're saying let's really be smart about how we're using technology, and let's teach kids the right way to use the technology so that it's not, it doesn't become a burden. Because I know a lot of our kids go home and they might look at a screen for a lot more time at home, and that's just not healthy. It's not good for their eyes. It's not good for their mind.
Very true.
They really need some opportunity to engage in some of those real world skills.
And I think also that in this day and age of AI, that's dangerous because it gone too far with it in some aspects, and you're basically allowing a computer to think for you, and that's not what not what school and education is for. So I see why you want to do that. You don't want students to have to rely on technology telling you the answer.
Right.
Getting the answer yourself.
Yeah. We had a group of high school students come to us last year, more toward the end of the year, but say they were seniors, they were getting ready to graduate, and they said, we really are apprehensive about technical writing, about writing a research paper. We need help with that. And so myself and Nellie Wright and Kristen Bledsoe, who are instructional folks at the board office, and Jesse Marksberry, who was our ELL instructor, we came together and built out an instructional module for those kids, and we went over after school and worked with them. But one key component of that instructional model was, if you're going to be writing, here's the safe and correct way to use AI in your research.
Right.
So let it give you some suggestions about sources to go to, but you have to vet those sources.
Yeah.
You have to vet the things that you are using as citations. So helping them to understand how to use AI. And so that will be a big component of our work this year. As AI continues to grow, I think everybody has ChatGPT as a friend, so we have to really teach people how to use it correctly.
That's very good. I'm excited to hear you say that. We were talking off camera about how I'm seeing an influx of the love of reading again. We have a local bookstore here in the Grayson area that just opened up, and I was there for opening day, and it was packed of people coming into a bookstore. And I was just so overjoyed to see young ones carrying books out and learning the love of reading again.
Yes.
And I think that we have, and that kind of goes along with what you're talking about with the devices and stuff, that we have gotten away from a physical book in your hand and the imagination of reading and putting those words into your mind and coming up with what you're seeing on page.
Yeah.
I think it's very important.
And there's some skills that go along with reading as well, and some of them are really hard to do when you're trying to read on a device. And How do we teach kids how to annotate text? How do we teach kids how to take notes on what they're reading?
Yes.
To be able to reference certain paragraphs and certain sentences. It's hard to do that on a screen. And so by getting that text in their hands, they're able to do that. And I'm with you. I'm excited about every opportunity for books to come into our kids' lives. So having a bookstore in town is wonderful. We had the option when we purchased our curriculum for reading to go with the digital version, and we didn't. We paid for the text so that our kids have their hands on that text.
Great.
And it's just exciting.
That is so wonderful to hear. That's going to be a focus for the coming years. And so one of the things also I was really impressed with is the summer food program. Because and I actually had mentioned this to a few of my friends who live in other states, and they were just they couldn't grasp it. They're like, and you feed your students after school's out during the summer?
Yeah.
Yes, we make sure that they're fed. If you can, we've got about 5 minutes. Can you talk a little bit about that program?
That was such a blessing, and I had the opportunity because it turned into an all hands on deck experience. To be part of the Thursdays when families could come through and pick up their food for the week. And I was just really amazed. First, I was amazed at our food service staff and how hard they would work all week getting ready for that Thursday, because they had everything packed just perfectly. Families would get a bag for every child that they had that was under the age of 18. They would have a bag of kind of like your dried things, like your cereals and your crackers and those, your goldfish and those kinds of things. And then they would have a bag of fruits and vegetables. And so there was fresh broccoli, there was fresh celery, there was tomatoes, there was apples, there was so many.
This was not junk food.
No, wonderful fruit and vegetables in those bags. And they made me hungry just looking at those. And then they would have a bag of freezer items, and so there would be your waffles or your breakfast item, your breakfast burritos or your pizza. So they would have those frozen items, and then every child received a gallon of milk every week.
A gallon?
A whole gallon of milk.
Wow.
And so, see, that was why they needed all hands on deck.
I see.
Our principals came out, our central office staff came out, everybody came to help, and the system that food service put into place is as the cars would drive around, they would verify how many students that car was supposed to get. They would put a number on their windshield, and as they came across around where the food was being loaded at, we could see, okay, here's a car coming. They have a 3 on their windshield, so they need 3 gallons of milk. They need 3 bags of dry, 3 bags of fruits, 3 bags of frozen, and we were able to really load them up so it wasn't long. Once we got the traffic pattern at Pritchard straightened out, it wasn't a problem after that. But Grayson PD was really great to come and help us figure out our pattern. We were able to get that straightened out. I don't think West had as many traffic issues as we had on the east side, but the fact that those families received that food all the way through the end of July, it was just a great blessing. And it wasn't about socioeconomic status or anything like that. Any family was eligible to get those wonderful snacks and food, and every little bit helps. And maybe even kids had exposure to something that they hadn't tried before. Maybe they had never had cauliflower, or maybe they never had celery sticks with ranch dressing or whatever, so they got to try some things that maybe they would like. But I want to shout out our food service staff. Tiffany Felty is our director, and Krista and Becca at the central office, but all of the food service folks that chipped in and made that program so successful. And I'm so glad that you mentioned it, because I am proud of the fact that they were able to do that.
I bet you are. I mean, because I was so happy to read all the things that they provided, and I was just talking to my friends. They were just they was like, we need something like that here in our area. Yeah. So I hope that that it grows.
I do too.
Well, we are out of time. I mean, we as I told you, 30 minutes goes by quick.
Goes by too fast.
And I would definitely would love to have you back so we can get some more information on how the school consolidation is going, construction. How I want to see maybe in a few months how the new instructional priorities that you're talking about with the devices is going. I would love to have you back, and let's do that. So.
I would love to be back, and I just want everyone to know that if they ever have any questions about anything going on with Carter County Schools, they're more than welcome to reach out to me.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Dr. Jennifer Fraley, Superintendent of Carter County Schools, our guest tonight here on County Conversations. We will see you guys somewhere down the road again with another episode. Until then, have a wonderful evening.